Welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass.
So glad you are here with us today.
Yeah, we are diving into something really special. So picture this, right? You wake up in Paris.
Oh, the best feeling.
It really is. It's early morning. You step out onto the street, you grab a fresh, warm pain au chocolat, and you just take in that romantic, bustling energy of a city that's just waking up.
Completely idyllic.
Right, but then just a few hours later, the scenery fractures completely, like total shift.
It is a massive shift.
You are suddenly standing on the solemn, windswept sands of the Normandy coast. The air is cold, the ocean is just vast, and you are standing on the exact spot where the entire trajectory of the 20th century changed forever.
Yeah, it's heavy. It is arguably one of the most profound geographical and emotional shifts you can possibly experience in a single day of travel.
For sure. Today we are taking you on a really comprehensive, on-the-ground exploration of what it is actually like to make that dramatic transition. We are looking at the ultimate 13-hour D-Day day trip from Paris.
Which is, you are traveling from the ultimate symbol of leisure and culture straight into the ultimate theater of historical sacrifice.
Exactly.
And figuring out exactly how to bridge that gap smoothly, without losing the emotional weight of the destination to just sheer travel fatigue, that requires some serious logistical maneuvering.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to compare two really highly rated options for making this journey.
Right. We've got the Link Paris Train to Tour package and the ExcursionPass Direct Tour.
We're going to walk you through the mechanics of the day, anticipate the bumps in the road, and share the lived experiences of travelers who literally just walk those beaches. Because, well, before we can explore the bunkers, we actually have to get there.
We do.
And you look at a tour description, you see 13 hours. That sounds like a massive undertaking.
Oh, it's a marathon.
Right. Is this going to be an exhausting logistical nightmare that leaves you too drained to even appreciate the history?
That anxiety is the most valid objection travelers have. When you are on vacation, your time and your energy are finite resources.
Very finite, especially if you've been eating pastries and drinking wine all week.
Exactly. A 13-hour day is a heavy withdrawal from that energy bank. How you spend the transit hours really dictates whether you arrive at Omaha Beach mentally sharp and ready to absorb it, or if you show up just desperate for a nap.
Let's lay out the facts. We pulled the mechanics of the two primary options from our sources. So option A is the Link Paris tour.
The train option.
Right. That one is priced at $480. For this route, you take a train from Paris to the town of Bayeux, where you meet your guide right at the rail station. The groups are super intimate, capped at a maximum of 8 travelers, and it's designed for ages 14 to 85.
Okay, and then option B is the ExcursionPass tour, coming in at €265. And instead of a train, you depart directly from Paris on their own transport. But a major variable stands out here. The minimum age for ExcursionPass is just 7 years old.
Yeah, 7 versus 14 is a big jump. For families with young kids, that seems like an instant deciding factor.
Oh, absolutely. That age discrepancy is a massive tell about the underlying structure of these tours. It isn't just about whether, a 7-year-old has the attention span for complex military history.
Right.
It is about the mechanism of the transit. The ExcursionPass direct route is a highly controlled environment. You board a bus in Paris, you put your kid in a seat, they can sleep, and you just arrive.
So easy.
Yeah.
Whereas the Link Paris tour requires a lot of independent navigation.
Exactly. You have to get yourself to Gare Saint-Lazare at like 6 in the morning, find your platform, board a train, manage your own luggage.
Yeah. A 14-year-old has the independence to handle that friction. Yeah. A 7-year-old introduces a level of unpredictability that a highly scheduled, intimate group of 8 adults simply cannot absorb.
That's a great point. And furthermore, the 14 and up limit suggests the Link Paris guide might delve into the more graphic, visceral realities of the combat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, whereas the younger age limit for ExcursionPass kind of implies a focus on the broader narrative of, heroism and strategy.
That reframes the entire morning. You aren't just paying for the sights, you are paying for the level of transit independence you are comfortable with.
Precisely.
But let's look at the external variables that honestly neither operator can control. Like the weather. The English Channel is notorious for just volatile weather. Committing to a 13-hour coastal exposure requires a solid safety net.
Oh, definitely. What if the weather is terrible? Both operators have engineered really strong financial safety nets into their models. Link Paris explicitly requires favorable weather to operate.
Okay.
If a system moves in and cancels the tour, they offer a different date or a full refund.
Price.
And ExcursionPass takes a slightly different approach, offering a generous free cancellation window up to just 1 day before the tour for a full refund.
Okay, which removes a massive layer of stress. But I do want to push back on the independent train transit for option A, because isn't navigating a bustling French rail station early in the morning, trying to decode the departure boards while you're half asleep, isn't that a bit daunting? It sounds like trying to solve a puzzle before your coffee kicks in.
It absolutely can be. The learning curve of the French rail system is a known point of friction for tourists. The train offers this, superior scenic glide through the countryside, but it demands active participation in the boarding process.
You can't just zone out.
Right. But cross-referencing traveler notes, a brilliant operational tip emerged to sort of smooth this out. A reviewer named North Star highly recommends purchasing the first-class train ticket upgrade if you choose the Link Paris route.
Okay, I mean, extra legroom is always welcome, but does a wider seat actually solve the chaos of navigating the station itself?
Well, no, it doesn't magically guide you to the platform. You still have to do the legwork in the station. But the mechanism of the upgrade applies once you board.
Wow.
A first-class ticket provides dedicated luggage storage and a significantly quieter, less crowded cabin.
That is huge.
It is. When you are facing a 13-hour day, minimizing sensory input during the transit phase is crucial. The upgrade transforms the train from a standard commuter experience into a genuine rest period. It lets you stockpile your energy for the physical demands of the coast.
And conserving energy is critical because once you arrive in Normandy, the real work begins. Let's assume you've navigated the transit and you are finally boots on the ground. You aren't just viewing these sights through a glass window on a bus.
No, not at all.
The itinerary drops you directly into the environment. You are walking the sands of Omaha and Utah beaches. You are standing in the town square of Sainte-Mère-Église. You are feeling the wind whip across the dramatic cliffs of Pointe du Hoc, where the original German bunkers still dominate the landscape.
It's incredible.
And you also spend time at the Operation Overlord Museum. I do have to make a joke here, though, because Link Paris explicitly notes that travelers must have a moderate physical fitness level.
They do say that.
So this is not just a leisurely day of sitting on a bus eating croissants, right?
Right.
You are out exploring the bunkers. You are hiking uneven ground.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the geography itself is the primary artifact. Reading about the D-Day landings in a book gives you statistics. Standing on the terrain forces you to confront the sheer physics of the invasion.
Okay, let's break down the physics of those specific locations, starting with Sainte-Mère-Église. It's an inland town. Why is a coastal invasion tour taking you into a town square?
Well, the mechanism of the amphibious landing required securing the inland raids first. The night before the beach landings, thousands of paratroopers were dropped in the pitch black over towns like Sainte-Mère-Église.
Just jumping into the dark.
Exactly. The strategic imperative was simple. If the Allies didn't control those crossroads, German cancer divisions would just roll right down to the beaches and obliterate the infantry before they could secure a foothold. So standing in that town square, looking up at the church spire where paratrooper John Steele famously got caught by his parachute, you finally understand the sheer chaos of an airborne assault in the dark.
The terrain dictates the strategy. And honestly, nowhere is that more violently apparent than at Pointe du Hoc. You are looking at 100-foot vertical chalk cliffs jutting out into the ocean.
Yeah, and the German military engineered massive 155-millimeter artillery batteries at the top of those cliffs because it gave them a commanding field of fire over both Utah and Omaha beaches.
A total vantage point.
Right. So the U.S. Army Rangers were given the impossible task of scaling those wet cliffs under heavy fire using rocket-propelled grappling hooks and rope ladders.
Just unbelievable.
When you stand at the base of Pointe du Hoc and crane your neck straight up, the physical impossibility of what those Rangers achieved just hits you. It stops being a story in a textbook and becomes a staggering feat of human endurance.
And that physical engagement really forces empathy. Feeling the resistance of the sand, the chill of the channel wind, the claustrophobia of a concrete bunker, it bridges that 80-year gap. You are experiencing a fraction of the environmental resistance those soldiers faced.
Exactly.
But with so many heavy emotional sights in one day, does it feel rushed? Like, do you even get a second to breathe? We're talking about battlefields and bunkers packed into a single day. Does the itinerary succumb to tour fatigue?
It's a great question because emotional pacing is the most difficult aspect of designing a battlefield tour. If you barrage a traveler with constant trauma, they just numb out by hour 6.
Right, you just shut down.
But the on-the-ground reality shows these operators really understand that psychological limit. We found a review from a traveler, Lori S., who noted that right in the middle of this intense immersion, their guide actually diverted their small group to a completely non-touristy local sandwich shop and bar.
Oh, I love that. A tactical retreat into everyday French life.
Precisely. It served as a decompression chamber. It gave the group a moment to process the scale of Pointe du Hoc over normal food in a quiet environment before facing the emotional weight of the rest of the day.
That deliberate pacing separates a mechanically scheduled tour from a curated experience, which leads us to the ultimate variable in this entire equation, the storytellers.
The guides.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You can stand on Omaha Beach all day, but to an untrained eye, it is just sand, grass, and cold water.
It is.
The landscape holds the history, but without a guide, it refuses to speak. The guides are the ones who extract the narrative from the terrain.
The guide is the interface between the traveler and the history. I mean, perfect logistics mean absolutely nothing if the guide is simply reciting Wikipedia summaries through a crackling microphone.
Ah, the worst.
But the source material overwhelmingly highlights the sheer caliber of the historians operating these specific routes. They are not merely reciting dates, they are contextualizing the violence and the strategy.
Let's examine how these specific guides operate. We repeatedly saw a guide named Igor mentioned. He is a Normandy local, only 2 generations removed from the horrors of the war in his own home.
That's incredible.
He doesn't just talk about abstract Allied forces. He details the reality of the war as it happened to his own family, in his own hometown. The mechanism of that storytelling shifts the invasion from a military operation to a deeply personal community trauma.
That local tether provides an authenticity you just cannot fake. And then you have guides utilizing visual anchoring, like Eliza. Travelers noted she didn't just talk, she brought a binder full of historical reconnaissance pictures.
Oh, that's brilliant.
She would hold a 1944 photograph up against the modern horizon, allowing you to visually map the destroyed defensive lines right onto the peaceful grass you are currently standing on.
And beyond visual aids, guides like Dylan and Thomas were singled out for their environmental access. They actually managed to get their groups deep inside an actual German bunker, actually standing behind the thick concrete slits where machine gunners looked out over the approaching landing craft. That perspective shift is just chilling.
What's fascinating here is the paradox of our modern information age. We carry supercomputers in our pockets. You could stand on Omaha Beach and read every strategic detail of Operation Overlord on your phone.
Right, you could just Google it.
But human curation has become more vital than ever. Reading a plaque isn't the same as a local guiding you through their own history. A screen cannot interpret the subtle dip in a hedgerow or answer a spontaneous question about title charts. The guides filter out the noise.
That expert curation seems deliberately designed to build toward one specific emotional climax. Regardless of the route you take, the itinerary culminates at the Normandy American Cemetery.
Yes.
Cross-referencing traveler notes from John G., Stack Photo, and Sightseer, one specific, highly orchestrated moment kept appearing. The guides make a massive logistical effort to ensure the group arrives at the cemetery just before 5:00 p.m.
Right, they're timing the visit to coincide with the daily lowering of the flag.
Yes. You spend the entire day analyzing the mechanics of the invasion, the airborne drops, the cliff assaults, the fortifications. You are dealing with statistics in the tens of thousands. And then, as the late afternoon light shifts, you stand among thousands of perfectly aligned white crosses and stars of David. The chaotic noise of the day's history goes completely silent, and taps begins to play as the flag is slowly lowered.
It's just fuller. It acts as the emotional punctuation mark for the entire 13 hours. It takes the massive, incomprehensible scale of the war machine and funnels it down into the individual human cost.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of those crosses, juxtaposed against the violent history you just learned, forces you to reckon with the price of the ground you are standing on. Ensuring you are standing in the right place at the right time with the right context to experience that ceremony is the true value of booking a professional tour.
Because attempting to time that out on your own while navigating foreign roads in a rental car, you would likely just miss it entirely.
Oh, absolutely.
However, to maintain our trust as your expert travelers, we have to look at the friction points. Even the most profoundly moving day trips encounter logistical realities. We have to share the minor hiccups so you are fully prepared.
Managing expectations is the armor you wear against travel frustration. When a tour has glowing reviews, travelers often expect a flawless, frictionless glide from dawn until midnight.
Right.
But the reality of moving human beings across a country involves variables that just refuse to cooperate.
The first caveat we uncovered involves the rigid mechanics of the drop-offs. One traveler who otherwise had a stellar experience highlighted a frustrating end to the day. The guide dropped them at the designated meeting point in downtown Bayou in the pouring rain and then proceeded to drive the vehicle right past the traveler's hotel to drop other guests at the train station.
Oof. From the tired, wet traveler's perspective, that feels like an absurd lack of hospitality. Like, why not just pull over for 10 seconds?
Exactly.
But from the operational perspective, you are dealing with a complex mechanism. Guides are bound by strict union driving hours, municipal parking regulations, and the inflexible departure times of the rail network. If they deviate to drop one person at a hotel, they risk causing the next group to miss their train back to Paris.
The schedule is the master.
It is.
And the second caveat brings us back to the independent transit. Another reviewer issued a stark warning about the learning curve of figuring out train platforms if you choose the train option. Even with a first-class ticket, finding your train isn't always as simple as looking at a screen and walking to a designated track.
No, rail stations in Europe are highly dynamic environments. Track assignments are often not announced until 10 or 15 minutes before the departure time.
Right.
If you are accustomed to airports where the gate is known hours in advance, that sudden rush of hundreds of people moving toward a newly announced platform can absolutely endear panic.
It sounds like the tour itself, the beaches, the local guides, the history, is a five-star dream. But the last-mile logistics can sometimes be a bit of a pumpkin at midnight situation.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for that?
You prepare by adjusting your expectations before you ever leave Paris. You must remind yourself what you're purchasing. You are paying for a historic, deep dive, unparalleled access, local storytelling. You are not purchasing a luxury door-to-door limousine service. A little rain, a brisk walk from a designated drop-off point, or having to quickly ask a station attendant to decipher a departure board. These are incredibly small tolls to pay for a life-altering historical experience.
Expect the friction, appreciate the history. So what does this all mean? Let's bring the entire equation together. Whether you choose the 265 ExcursionPass direct route for its controlled environment and family accessibility, or you opt for the $480 Link Paris train route for its intimate intensity, you're making a significant investment of your time.
You are.
Yeah.
You are outsourcing the immense cognitive load of planning. You are buying the peace of mind that comes from handing the complex logistics of the Normandy coast over to professionals who navigate it daily.
You don't have to calculate driving times between Saint-Mire-Église and Pointe du Hoc. You don't have to stress about missing the 5 p.m. flag lowering because you took a wrong turn at a roundabout. These tours remove the stress of planning, allowing you to simply absorb the profound history of places like Pointe du Hoc and Omaha Beach.
And as you consider dedicating 13 hours of your trip to this experience, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder on your own.
Okay.
Imagine yourself completing this journey. You have walked the bunkers, felt the wind on the cliffs, and heard taps play over the cemetery. When you finish this 13-hour journey and finally return to the bright lights, the warm cafes, and the vibrant freedom of Paris, how will standing on the cold sands of Omaha Beach that very same morning change the way you view the freedom you're enjoying on the rest of your vacation?
Wow, that is a perspective shift that lasts long after the trip is over. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Travel Podcast by Excursion Pass. We will catch you on the next journey. Safe travels, everyone.